everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Tonight we are back at Crit City for Zwift FutureWorks anti-sandbagging race. We've got 6 laps, 1.9 kilometers a lap for a total, I think, of about 20 kilometers all up, including lead-in or something similar. So I've got a small list of people that signed up on ZwiftPower, but I think in Zwift we've got about 22, 23 riders that are registered, so typical sort of a size for this race. It's going to be good to see how it goes. You know, I love this course. It's a fun, fast, flat little course. Excellent for racing. And if you like what you see, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button on the video. It really helps me a lot. Okay, so we're in the pens. I've done the usual warm-up with Coco Cadence around Watopia. A little bit sweaty there. I've got my MARP hat or cap that I got from riding stage 1 of the Wootopian Wildlands. Not a big fan of the kit, but the hat was pretty cool. It's the only backwards cap in Zwift that I've seen. So I got that. I got the usual bike and beer red and blue kit with the blue Tron bike. Now I was having some problems. I upgraded my Mac that I use to run Zwift and do the recording and the streaming, and I upgraded that, and it was really sluggish. The graphics were really patchy and slow and choppy. So yeah, a little bit sort of just trying to figure out what was going on there. I was changing resolutions. It didn't really sort of help that much, but I ended up minimizing OBS to help with the resources, and that seemed to clear it up. All right, so 5 seconds. Power down. And we're out. And the scene didn't change. Gosh. I just want one race or one stream where it all works the way it's meant to. Anyway, so in the last couple of events, I haven't been putting out like a big sprint at the start. I've been working on to see whether there's I can still put down enough power but not go so hard and waste a whole bunch of energy off the start. And so Chandler did the same thing, picked him up. I think I realised that the scene settings aren't right here. There we go, that's fixed it. Yeah, so we had about 23 races, I think, lined up. And Chandler and I are about 20 metres ahead of them. So even though we put a bit of a gap between them, between us and them, yeah, that's never going to stay that way. So happy to let them get back on and group up. Here we go. So Paul's, Christy, Falcons. We get around. Yeah, so you can sort of still see the graphics. It's a little bit choppy, not ultra smooth. So I'll see if I can't fix that up. Now in this race, this is the only little climbing section. Climbing, it's more like a little pinch or a kick. 2 stages, up around the corner. And then you take the right, back under the banner, and then you're back into the flats again. So that's the only little climb for this race. So that's the section to keep an eye on to make sure that you're not getting dropped and that riders aren't riding off in the front. Yeah, so we've still got roughly 10 or 11, I think 10 or 11 riders here in the front group. We've dropped a couple, but not too many. All right, back into the rollers. I always like this section, I don't know why, but it always seems to be that I can really push back to the front quite easily here. I don't know whether the other races are just sort of coming off the gas a bit, but it feels easy to get back to this spot. Alright, round the hairpin. And we've clocked up our first lap. And what power up did I get? We got the aero. Now, as I've mentioned in other videos, getting the aero at the start of a race isn't great. Because it's like, well, do I hang on to that and not get any other aeros at all? Or do I use that now and risk not getting the aero again at the end of the race when others have got it? Now, I was in another race where literally I think the first all 5 or 6 riders at the start all had aeros. So I was sprinting against guys that had 20% more power on the sprint, and it's almost impossible. But I think I decided, given that this was 6 laps and not 8 or 12, that I was going to hang on to that aero and not spend it until the end. So where other guys have got the draft boost and the featherweight, I decided I was going to hang on to that. Hopefully make it to the end. Alright, back into the cobble climbs. So that last lap we did it in 2 minutes 24. Averaging somewhere around 48.5 kilometers an hour. Heart rate still in the low to mid 160s, which is good. And this is the section where everyone sort of settles in. So Zwift racing, the starts are always brutal. But then you get a chance after that first lap or so, or in this case, because the laps are so short, probably the first couple of laps. You get past that and then everyone sort of settles in. And then that leads us to the last lap, the sprint. All right, back into the rollers again. And you can see, when you're using the draft boost, you've really got to make sure you're at the back of the pack. You can't be towards the front. You'll put it on, and before you know it, you thought about the front, and it's just a waste. Half of this is just knowing when to put these power ups on. Alright. Alright, clocking in, second lap, 2 minutes 27. Now, when I say the time, I'm actually looking at the times I've got in Strava for this, not the times that are appearing on the left-hand side, although I probably should be looking at that. Back in the flats. Group still pretty intact. Now, even though I've just realised that even though I can see that we've got 23 races, we certainly don't seem to have 23 races on in the race. And I think there might be a bunch of riders that perhaps they joined in the pens so they could watch someone else race. Now, this is a weird thing about Zwift. If I want to watch someone race, I can't just follow them in the race. I've got to join the event, get in the pens, and then I can switch to their view and watch them race. And especially if you're working together and you're trying to give, if you're in a team and you've got someone sort of coaching you, you need to be able to do that to see what's going on. You can't just watch the race without being involved in it. So that makes me think there's a bunch of riders that were probably watching some of these other riders here and not actually racing. So I think whilst there's 23, we've probably got 13 or 14 riders actually racing here. So Paul was doing I noticed some big turns during the race at the front. Seem to be doing really well. Chandler and Christie at the back, Jones, Ishiwata, Hawkins at the front there. And again, we're just sort of cycling through, taking a little bit of a turn at the front and then dropping to the back. Okay, 8 minutes 30 and we're already halfway through the race. So in Strava I had that lap down as 2 minutes and 28. Heart rate's nudging into the 170s, 172. I've got a max heart rate of around 180. So the closer I get to that, the more painful it becomes. Yeah, so a lot of red and yellows at the bottom of the histogram there. And those little, the big, those red candles are probably just the climbs. The cobble climb at the middle of the course. Alright, back around, back into the cobbles. Yeah, so we've sort of been doing these around 22 seconds. Again, putting some power down. So that last one, 21.53. And there's no point in trying to sprint that you don't get anything for it, so other than just being first on the list there. If you're new to racing, the sprints, different races will do different things, and different races do have points, team points and so forth, but this one doesn't, so sprinting on those little sprints is just, yeah, there's no reason to do it. You're just going to burn energy. Alright, back into the rollers again. Trying to come off the power here a little bit just to recover a smidge. Alright, back into the hairpin. Okay, I've got 2 laps to go. So because I've hung onto the aero now, I'm starting to think about how I'm going to use this and when. And from previous races, I think the best spot to use this is the crosswalk, the little painted crosswalk at the end of the rollers before you turn into the hairpin. So that's the spot that I think that's the best spot for me to use it. Well, it all depends, but that's where I'm looking. And that's where I'll start the sprint. Alright, so we've still got a tight group. There's no one's dropped. Nobody's come off the back at all. Alright, so heart rate still sitting around that 173 now. Into the kick. Up on the pedals. I'm really conscious about any kind of gaps opening up that I've got to try and shut down. The last thing you want to do is then keep on the gas after you finish this. So I just want to make sure I stay in touch with the front riders, even though we've still got one lap to go. So 21:20 with that section. And ironically, this is our slowest lap, the 5th lap. So I think we did this in, sorry, the 4th lap was 2:29. This was our second fastest lap, 2:26 after the start. Okay, then back into the rollers again. I think we might have dropped one rider, just looking at the mini map. Alright, so it's this crosswalk here that we can see coming up. It's about here that I'm going to use the aero and start the sprint. And hopefully everyone's thinking the same thing. I said if you use it too late, then you don't get the benefit of winding up before you hit the arch. Use it too early, and then you blow it, and you can get overridden. So we all set new PRs on that lap. So this lap was the fastest lap, and now when I look back in Strava, this is my second fastest lap of all the times I've raced on this particular course. So I did this in 2 minutes 18 according to Strava. My fastest lap was, I think sometime last year, October last year. Did that in 2 minutes 17. And that was the race where I got hit with the upgrade to start moving from C to B. So I'm kind of happy that I'm getting back to this point. Or to that point where I was, racing these and getting upgraded. Although I don't want to be upgraded to B yet, because racing in B is just a nightmare. You go from being sort of the top 3 or 5 in a C grade race to being in the last 10 in a B grade race, and it's a bit difficult. Okay, but let's not worry about that. So we come back into the cobbled climbs for the last time. Up on the pedals. We can see here that Thermine really putting some big power down. He had the featherweight, and I can see his strategy there was to try and break it apart and hopefully get enough of a gap that he could just ride this one off. But that didn't work out. And so I'm behind, was it Yamanaka? And we managed to bridge him. And then we've got Ishawata behind me, just passing there. Christie just behind me, but he's about 20 meters behind. I'm really hoping it's going to be just the 4 of us coming into this last sprint. That would be great. So here we go. I can see we've got a big group. There's one behind us, Christie, coming through. Oh, there's a couple of riders behind us. Christie, one cone already on Thermine. And then boom, Fockins just absolutely sprints past with Christie. So Christie saw him, picked him up on the wheel. I've hit the go button now, but it's too late. I've already missed out, and I can't believe it. So he's been hit with a cone, and then bang. You also Thermine got hit with a cone, and I think Fockins got hit with a cone as well. So it ended up with 5th. Really hoping for a better result than that. First 2 riders don't have HR data. Christie has HR data that's not right. So yeah, wasn't ideal. So 3 cones, Yamanaka, Thermine, and Fockins. And how does that work? How do you get 3 cones in the last 100 meters of the race? They must have been right on the border. Anyway, so yeah, there we have it. That happened. Got 5th overall. When I look back on ZwiftPower, I got the silver cup 2nd, which is pretty good. But then when I had a look at the stats, then I had 3.4 watts per kilo for this race, as opposed to 3.1 watts per kilo when I last raced this race. My 5 minutes was higher, 3.7 to 3.2. My 1 minute was higher, 4.5 to 3.8. And my 15 seconds was also higher, 7.8 to 4.8. So happy with that. My average heart rate though was 169 compared to 172, which is excellent. So really happy with that. Always looking for the positives. And that's a great result. So even though I got 5th, overall, 2nd in ZwiftPower, that's still a hell of an improvement from my last race, this same race back in June, 22nd of June. So there we go. Anyway, that's another race down. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next race.